What's that?
Our new Space Coast Credit Union watchdog.
Watchdog.
The financial products and services you want, plus the protection you need. Space Coast Credit Union. Your life, your financial watchdog.
The Miami Dolphins, with their 5-6 record, are almost back in the playoff picture, but this is a big one at Green Bay on Thanksgiving. If the Dolphins can exercise this demon, their inability to beat good teams, hey, they might be on their way to the playoffs. Hello, everybody. An early happy Thanksgiving to you. Welcome to this week's edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I am your host, Chris Perkins, your South Florida Sun Sentinel Miami Dolphins columnist. That is Dave Hyde, your South Florida Sun Sentinel columnist. Dave, what do you think the weather's going to be like? Is the weather going to be a factor?
Well, it won't be for me because I'm sticking back here and you're going to Green Bay, Perk. So I've done that many times. I've been caught in snowstorms. I've got on my knees thankfully when it's not snowing. Thursday, let's look at it. So a 3% chance of any precipitation, meaning snow, high 35, low 21, and I'm looking for a wind, and I don't see a wind because, as you know, the wind's often the issue. Okay, 12 to 17 miles an hour. That's you'll feel it up, but it won't be blowing you over. So it's about as good as weather you could hope for in the end of November in Green Bay.
It is. Hey, it won't be like that Kansas City playoff game, so that's what we're all thankful for. We would like to welcome our YouTube viewers. We invite everybody to leave a question, a thought, a comment on our live chat, the best place to get intelligent Dolphins conversation. We'd like to invite you to sign up for our weekly newsletter, The Fans Flash. You can do so by scanning the QR code that's being shown on your screen. And we remind you that if you miss any part of this show, you can catch the podcast on Amazon, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. So now the Dolphins have a chance to even their record at 6-6 with a win at Green Bay on Thanksgiving. We will discuss whether this 3-game win streak is real or not. We will look at whether the Dolphins can beat good teams, which has been one of the things under the Mike McDaniel era that's really created a problem for them. And we will ask if the Dolphins must trade Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle if this offense works and they get into the playoffs. As we always say around here, there's a lot of ocean of possibilities. Let's dive in. All right, Dave Hyde, so let's talk about this 3-game winning streak here. I like what I'm seeing here. I think this is a more stable, more secure way to play. I think it's better than the gimmicky, big play passing offense that we saw with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. My one concern right now is the running game has kind of abandoned them, and you're using so much of that short passing game as your de facto run game. You saw that incident yesterday where they're trying to have Skylar Thompson and Jalen Wright basically run out the clock with the run game in the entire fourth quarter. They have the fumble, but whatever, right? They've got it. They've got something that works. They're confident. They're happy. It seems stable. It seems tougher to defend. I like what I'm seeing, Dave Hyde.
Well, you like wins. I mean, right? And beyond that, to your point, you like yesterday was dominant. I mean, they came out right from the start, scored 4 of their first 5. You know, they punted their first possession, then they scored the next 4. Defensively, they shut down Drake May, and and Drake May's a rookie quarterback, but he's had some splashes this year, and so the past 2 weeks they've done to bad teams what you should do if you're a good team, and that's not to say it happens that way. I'm not dismissing that either, because we look what happened to Pittsburgh against Cleveland this on Thursday. Look what happened to Houston against Tennessee yesterday. All the time there are bad teams beating a good team, having their big season victory. And the Dolphins didn't allow that to happen. Now, let's not overpraise that either, okay? If you were going to say, should they win the last 3 games? Yeah, the Rams are a mediocre team at best. They got run off the field in the second half by Philadelphia last night. They squeaked out a win against the Patriots the week before, and the Dolphins beat. So, again, if you were to say these past 3 games, they've gone as you would hope if you're the Dolphins. Now you've pulled yourself back within sight of a goal, and we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, and look, I always say, Hyde, it's not a popular thing to say, but I always say the NFL season starts around Thanksgiving, right? I don't know, probably half the teams are going to be within a game of 500, and you're thinking, man, if we can just win 3 of the next 4 or 4 of our last 5 or whatever, we're right in it. I think that's the way the NFL likes it, and that's kind of what you always have. So this, to me, is really when the season starts, and we'll see if you're worth it. You're going to make your run right now, position yourself for the playoffs, get a home playoff game, win your division, whatever, and then we'll see what really happens in the playoffs. Like to say hello to everybody that's out there. Rob, Pretty Boy, One-Eyed Jack, Robert Rosario, Raphael Courtwright, Shake Money, Robert Rosario, I might have said him. Mal Be Crazy. What's going on, everybody? Glad that you joined us. Dolphins are winning, baby. Got to like that. Hyde, here's another thing that I like. And as you pointed out in your column today, the Dolphins, they've cut down on the penalties. And this is a chance for them to really kind of redefine what this season is all about. Here's some things that I like that I'm seeing. Tua's playing well. Mike McDaniel is calling a good game. Anthony Weaver has that defense in line. Chop Robinson now making a run. Lining up wider has really paid dividends for him. As they tell us, it gives him more of an option to go inside or outside. But we even see that bull rush working for him now. Hey, guess what? Quietly, Danny Crossman has brought the special teams under control. No more mindless penalties. Hey, Jason Sanders hit a 51-yard field goal yesterday. Quiet as it's kept. So every coach, McDaniel, and I should mention Frank Smith, the offensive coordinator, but every segment of the team, again, while things are not perfect, right, because you did have that fumble return touchdown yesterday, and you did have the defense had the mindless pass, the 38-yard touchdown pass, right? So you kind of had a blown coverage on a broken play, a scramble play. So there are things to work on, Hyde, but really, to me, offense, defense, and special teams are working in harmony, probably playing better complementary football than they have during the McDaniel era.
Yeah, I think Mike McDaniel got things under control, and I wrote a column, hats off to him. Obviously, Tua returning, and Tua's on fire right now the last few games, and playing as well in a I call it the East Coast offense. It's sort of a variation of the West Coast possession passing game, but almost running game, and some of their easy throws that he's making, and Mike McDaniel's design the plays, but even more than the design plays and all that. Yeah, at 2-6, that season looked ready to collapse, and a lot of things have changed. Mostert fumbled back-to-back games. He went to the bench. David Long went to the bench, and then off the team. Those were personnel things, but also, it was brought to him as we found it out. It was found out at the trade deadline that the Dolphins had an offer for Calais Campbell, and then Ian Rappaport yesterday that reported that Mike McDaniel's the one who nixed it. Why this was even on the table? Look, I get if you're 0-8, let's say at that point, your season's sunk, mathematically sunk. You're out of it. Then you be a nice guy and you trade Calais Campbell back to Baltimore, which needs defensive help and is a contender, and that's his former team, his former coach, etc. But are you kidding me that the front office even discussed trading him at Tuesday? This is a make or break season almost for the Dolphins, and as long as you could see this 3-game winning streak, it was a distinct possibility if they get their crap together, and they got it together. So good for Mike McDaniel for squashing that and saying, as he said, I threw an adult tantrum, and so Calais Campbell's been a surprisingly vital part of this team.
Yeah, no, he has been. All right, let's go there, Hyde. Since you brought it up, let's go there. By the way, hello to Gregory Lewald, Jay Gill, Lenny Pena, Eric Rivera. Who mentioned this on here? Let's see here. Somebody mentioned this. Anyway, let's go here.
I got out of programming format. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's all good. So here's the thing. I was going to go up there on Friday. Me and David Furones alternate Fridays, and I was off on this Friday, and I was going to go up there just to ask Mike McDaniel, for the record, who has the final say in the offseason on the 90-man roster and in season on the 53-man roster. Is it you or is it Chris Grier? And I was going to ask that to get to the bottom of the backup quarterback situation. How did this happen? Why are you in this situation? And I wanted to get it out of the way when they had back-to-back wins, not like after they have back-to-back losses or they're on a 3-game losing streak. But I ended up having different things to do. One of them was going to the beach. And so I probably shouldn't have thrown that in, but I did. That's
Love
what I
it.
did.
Good
I
job.
was off. So, but I wish I would have gone because when you look at this Calais Campbell situation, I talked to Calais after the game in the locker room, and I ran that situation by him, and he said, yeah, but there was a lot more to it than that. I didn't pursue that because other people were around. I'll revisit that with Calais. But what I'm wondering is there's a lot more to it than that. Did the Dolphins, do you think, is this realistic that the Dolphins would have gone to Calais, gone to Teron Armstead and said, do you want out of here? That Chris Grier would have gone to him and said, do you want out of here? And then they start getting offers. And then Mike McDaniel hears that this thing is heating up. And he goes to Calais and says, wait a minute. That could be a scenario.
Look, the scenario as Mike McDaniel laid it out, as I understand it from what he said yesterday, and he was pretty transparent about it, was Chris Grier basically signed off on it. Well, I'm sure I would assume Baltimore started the idea. But either way, Chris Grier had signed off on the deal, and as Mike said, Chris is responsible for the future as well as the present. Mm-hmm. How a 5th-round pick really is much of the future, I don't know. Again, I don't understand how the Dolphins entertained this deal to the point where it got. But anyways, Mike met with Calais Campbell, and out of that, and again, Mike said that he may or may not have thrown an adult tantrum, which he did throw an adult tantrum, as a coach should have. You're going to wait. You're going to trade not only a starting defensive tackle, a guy who on defense has become the leader of the defense and maybe the leader of the whole team. Who talks to the team? Yes. You can talk to him, the voice, the quarterbacks always has an important voice. But Calais Campbell is the guy everybody's going to right now. So wait, you're going to trade him? Are you kidding me? And what? Not only tactically without a starting defensive tackle, but and a leader. But what emotionally does that tell your team that we're trading Calais Campbell to be nice to send him to a contender because we have no chance? Our season is down there with the Titanic, and we have no intentions of raising it. And so I'm mystified that it even got to the point of. But to answer your question, who has control? We know who has control now, right?
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel has control.
Did Mike McDaniel hang Chris Greer out to dry? Was that his intention on this deal? That's not how Mike McDaniel operates. These guys have operated in lockstep as a tandem, and Mike McDaniel let us know, as you say, he let us know the deal that he had to go in there and stop this. He had to stop this process. Did he hang Greer out to dry intentionally? Did he hang him out to dry unintentionally?
To me, as a journalist, he answered the question honestly.
Yeah.
And I really don't like it when people answer questions honestly that, oh, he shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have said that. He shouldn't have, Aaron Rodgers shouldn't have said that guy ran the wrong route. I'm trying to, that Mike Williams shouldn't have run the wrong route, and he got hung out to dry. And look, Mike answered the question honestly, and I appreciate that, because now we have the full view of what happened by my regard, and could he have been a little more circumspect and protected Chris? Maybe, but we're all adults. Let's hear the honest answer.
Okay, and so let's get to this also, since we're on the Greer McDaniel thing. Backup quarterback, Hyde. This is probably what I'm going to write about today. Shake Money says, did we cut Skylar Thompson yet? Lenny Pena says Skylar is useless. All he had was one job on that play to hand off the ball, and he couldn't even do that. Fleming Law says, should we pursue Daniel Jones? Backup quarterback is a glaring hole still. Billy Batson, Skylar is better than Danny Dimes. Skylar just needs a training camp and a start day one. A lot of conversation here about Skylar Thompson. After the Seattle game, I wrote that I think that he deserves another chance, another start. And, of course, I got pummeled on social media for that.
Deservedly so, Perk.
You know what? Well, here's the thing. He's your backup quarterback, whether you like it or not. And when you talk to the guys who have come in here, and I've talked to Tim Boyle and Snoop Huntley, and even Darrell Bevel has mentioned this, it's tough to pick up this offense in a few weeks. Like the verbiage, the footwork, the accuracy, the quick reads, getting rid of the ball. Darrell Bevel, and he's told us this, but when you watched him in practice with Snoop Huntley, it was always, deliver the ball, deliver the ball, deliver the ball. It's very unnatural. It takes getting used to. So bringing anybody in, whether it's Daniel Jones or Ryan Tannehill, it's probably not going to do you any good this season. You're just kind of stuck with Skylar Thompson and Snoop Huntley. So kind of what I want to know here is, what do you think about this backup quarterback situation? I would like to know who caused this, and this is not something that can be settled today in season, coming up on Thanksgiving, but as the season is going to be over very quickly, and the GM situation needs to be addressed. Is he staying or going? Backup quarterback needs to be addressed. And who is going to make this backup quarterback decision? Did Mike McDaniel decide to stay with Skylar Thompson? If so, why? Who decided to get rid of Mike White? Why weren't these decisions made back in June or May? Why did you have to wait until the end of training camp, and now you're in this situation? So those are some of the things that I would like to know about the backup quarterback situation. But where are you on backup quarterback overall, Hyde?
Well, a lot to unpack, a lot of questions there, Perk. Let's go back to the decision this year. And we all know Chris Greer's his management style. Or if we don't, let's go back. He let, Adam Gase by the end was making the personnel decisions when Chris and Mike Tannenbaum he got more power as it went along. Brian Flores had made final say just by strength of personality, and Chris said, okay. And you look at decisions like Calais Campbell, other small decisions that have come to light. There's no difference here that Mike McDaniel has the final say, and Chris goes on. Now, to me, that's not the issue. To me, is that right? Is that you have a veteran GM, and I said this back in middle September when they were struggling at backup quarterback. You have a veteran GM, been in the league for a long time, in this position for a long time, and you have a first-time coach whose strength and weakness I think it's a great strength, but it also comes with loving his players.
Right.
Okay, and so he no doubt he said, Skylar, well, I'm good with Skylar time. If I'm a veteran GM, and this is a make or break season for you and this franchise because of all that's invested in it, I'd say to my first time head coach, we got to do better here. I'm not putting my career on the line for Skylar Thompson going in. There's several veteran quarterbacks out there who, if we need to start 2 or 3, or as it was 4 games, I feel much more comfortable with. And I think that's the road they got to get on. Everything's all good and favorable right now. They've won a few games. Tua is healthy. No one's mentioned the C word, and no one will until that moment, if it happens again, where it happens and everybody's, oh, why weren't they prepared? Well, I'm with you. There's nothing to do now at this point. What can they do but it'll be an off-season issue.
Okay, speaking of the C word, Hyde, Mike McDaniel took no chances yesterday. Skylar and Jalen Wright had that fumble. To my knowledge, I know Skylar didn't come back in. I don't think Jalen Wright played another snap either. Bringing Tua back, and he sustained that sack, right? He got sacked. He got tackled on his left elbow and left shoulder. Nothing happened. Is that a necessary risk? You weren't going to jeopardize that victory, and I admire Mike McDaniel for that. We're not blowing this 3-game losing streak. But, boy, you put Tua back in and you put him in harm's way. Is that coaching scared, or what did he do the right thing putting Tua back very quickly?
Absolutely did the right thing. All of a sudden it's a 2-score game with how much was there? 10 minutes left when they scored?
Yeah.
And yeah, you gotta, there's a reason in the NFL usually starters never come out or rarely come out.
Yeah.
And so put them in harm's way. That's going to happen sometimes. It's the NFL. So but absolutely McDaniel made the right. That wasn't even a tough decision to make. He had to bring back Tua in, settle the game down, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, he did. I'm glad he left Teron Armstead on the bench. All right, Hyde, let's do this. Can the Dolphins beat good teams? And this is always one of my stats that I pound these guys on. Coming into this season, they were 3-12 against playoff teams, 17-4 against non-playoff teams. Last season, 1-6 against playoff teams. They got beat by an average score of 32-16. Weren't even competitive. Got their butts kicked.
Yeah.
This year, they've already lost to Buffalo twice. So this is all building up to Green Bay. And can they beat the Packers, a good quality team, on the road? I'll tell you this, Dave Hyde. I don't think that weather, the temperature is not a factor. I think the opponent is a bigger factor because I think that they've beaten bad teams in cold weather, right? Washington. I don't know how many bad teams they played in cold weather, but Baltimore, good team, cold weather, right? Buffalo, good team, cold weather. Kansas City, good team, cold weather. I think the temperature thing is overblown. It's a road game and the quality of the opponent. Having said all that, that's my little spiel. What are you thinking here? Have the Dolphins shown they can beat good teams this season?
No. I mean, let's just look at it. They played Buffalo twice, lost twice. They played Arizona and lost. And those are your 3 winning teams they played. This is a remarkable schedule that they got. This is a gift. It's manna from heaven. You look at what the other teams are having. The AFC East, I thought it was going to be pretty good this year, other than New England, and the Jets are worse than New England. And then they played the AFC South. And the NFC West, and the NFC West is full of mediocre teams. No, that get blown out against good teams, as San Francisco did yesterday by Green Bay, as the Rams did by the Eagles. So this schedule should line up with a great season for the Dolphins. And so have they proved? They haven't proven they can beat good teams. No, this is the moment. Okay, they went from 2-6 to 5 and 6. They've got a toehold back into the where they're everything for a playoff spots within sight. It's not everything they wanted. They wanted the home field advantage. They wanted, the AFC East title. But this is what they can do. And if they can go in the playoffs hot, who knows what. But they haven't proven, and they play two good teams. I'm not even going to put San Francisco in that list anymore, unless something changes in the next couple of weeks. They play Houston and Green Bay, and so those will be markers for, okay, is anything different? They're beating bad teams, and sometimes beating them in a way you go, wow, they got something going here. But they got to beat some good teams before you can say. And I'm putting the cold weather in there, Perk. I'm putting it in there as a narrative they got to go against.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm not a temperature guy. And listen, folks, we know that there's some audio difficulties here, and I don't know. It's a live show. I don't know what else to say, but it's a live show. Thanks for sticking with us here. Stavros says biggest regular season game. And then we have, let's see here. Jay Gill, Thursday Night Football equals Dolphins Super Bowl. Somebody else had a comment like that too. How much can you make of this game, Dave? And because I don't want this to be a situation for the Dolphins where they say, we've got to win, we've got to win, we've got to win. It means everything. And then there's this big letdown if they don't win. And I don't want it to be, we've got to win, we've got to win, we've got to win. And then there's this big thing if they do win and they think they're a lot better than they are. How do you keep that? How do you put this game in proper perspective?
Well, frankly, I don't have to because I'm not playing. But look, they're pros. They're pros. They know what's going on, and they know this is a bigger game than the rest of them. But there'll be one the next week. The issue is if they lose this game, they probably don't have any wiggle room the rest of the way. They probably have to run the table, okay? And sure, I mean, they could run the table, but what's that? Five more games. So, this is about as must win as a game can be at the very end of November. Is it a must game? Can you see them saving their season? Maybe, but for a lot of reasons, they need to win this game.
Let me ask you this, Dave, and here's something that I was thinking of when we talk about can the Dolphins beat good teams and they have this stretch run. They've changed the offense. It is more of a dink and dunk offense. I'm still not sure that they're physically ready to play this style. And we look at the Alec Ingold calf injury. We know that Raheem Mostert has missed 3 games. And I'm looking at the running game right now. We know Raheem Mostert has missed 3 games this year with a chest injury. We know that Devon Achane, who has stopped wearing the Guardian cap for the last 2 games, by the way, had a concussion earlier this year. And he's kind of slight of build. He missed 5 games last season, 6 games. Teron Armstead, you're asking him to play a more physical style. He's run blocking more than he's pass blocking. Well, actually, the numbers, they're pass blocking more than they're run blocking the last couple of games. But it's a more physical style, Hyde. Do you have the running backs to play this style? Do you have the offensive line? Austin Jackson is already out. Kendall Lamb, good offensive lineman, probably not as good a run blocker as Austin Jackson. He's in his 30s. OBJ in his 30s, Teron Armstead in his 30s, Raheem Mostert in his 30s. Is this offense meant for this kind of a grind?
Well, they haven't had to play a tough defense, right? I mean, they played. Rams were right. I think they were 15th. They were mediocre. The Patriots and the Raiders were awful, and the Patriots were about 19th, 20th. And now Packers are ranked 10th in scoring. So they're stepping up in weight class a little. Still not what you would call a lockdown defense, but a pretty good defense. You're ranked 10th in the league, right? And so I'm interested to see how they go about defending this game. Because McDaniel and Tua undressed the Patriots coaches.
Yep.
Okay, there were guys wide open, and whether that's Tua going through his progressions, or Jonnu Smith's wide open on the first touchdown. They had the receiver screen to Devon for one touchdown. Then he's running wide open out of the backfield for another touchdown. So I'm curious to see how's a good defense going to match up against this now that it's been on tape for 4
Right.
games. And so I'm curious. I don't know how a defense is going to match. Are the Dolphins physical enough? That's always been a question. But
Yes.
the one thing I've been impressed by is HN has played whenever he's been asked. There hasn't been a moment this year, and he's played a lot. He's got a lot of. He is the number one back, and for most of the season, the number one dynamic playmaker. And so now they're spreading it around a little more. You see Jonnu Smith the last, 4 weeks or so has really become an impressive part of this offense. And I thought the game that Jalen had yesterday, Jalen Waddle, was obviously not just his best game this year, but you saw some things. His route running, a lot of different routes. They're thrown over the middle of the field, which they teams have taken away a lot. And so, this offense is clicking. I'm curious to see what a good defense, how they match up against it.
Yep. Let's see here. Tony Montana says Dave looks like a ghost on the screen.
Yeah. I'm whiter than Larry Bird was, and Larry Bird was transparent. So let's be honest. Let's call it what it is here. I do look pretty white, though.
Well, I think somebody said you look like a poltergeist also. So I think it's it's more the
it's my makeup artist. Perk, your show needs a bigger budget.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm saying I've got a large food budget here, so that's where most of the money goes. That's my pre-show spread here. Let's see here. We've got to talk about Chop Robinson when we talk about whether this team can thrive. Rob says Chop looked great Sunday. The Chop dance needs work, though, too unsynchronized. I kind of like the Chop. I thought they actually got it going with his first one. But the significance of Chop Robinson's development here, Dave Hyde, 3.5 sacks in the last 4 games. And, this is a team that had problems generating a pass rush and is still, a lower tier team with sacks. But now it maybe you don't have to blitz as much and sacrifice as much on the back end now that Chop is doing some things. Is this surge by Chop Robinson real? Is this something where now you're not just going, boy, when is Bradley Chubb getting back? I think that Chop is providing you something solid here. I'm not saying he's going to end up with 10 sacks, but once you start getting sacks and that reputation builds, you start getting more attention, and now maybe Agba can do more things or other guys. I like what I'm seeing from Chop. I think at this level, this is sustainable. This isn't like he's got, 5 sacks over 2 games, 3.5 over a 4-game stretch. He's not going to keep doing that, but the pressures and the win rates and the first step, I do think that this is sustainable. I like what I'm seeing from Chop Robinson.
Yeah, look at the first quarter against the Patriots. Their tackle going against Chop had a false start, had a holding penalty, and gave up a sack to Chop. So you talk about not only filling the box of the sacks. Now he's got 3.5 in the last 4 games, but he's affecting the offense too mentally. Who he's going against. So this is one Chris Greer can take feel proud about the way this is going. And, you look at who his rookie season is tracking, and it's Jalen Phillips. Phillips for the first half of the year, this is a big graduation from being a college pass rusher to going against men at tackle and being a pass rusher in the NFL and honing your moves. And but Jalen Phillips had 8 sacks the second half of his rookie year. And it looks like, Chop is, I don't know if he gets to 8, but the point is you're seeing a lot of those pressures turn into sacks now.
Yep, we are. Comrade coming at us from Scotland, I believe. He says, "Oh, Perk, you moved the show, and I was working." Easy. We haven't moved it. We moved it today. I should have said this in tweets because the Dolphins on the short week are practicing tomorrow. Dolphins are usually off on Tuesdays. All NFL teams are usually off on Tuesdays. So that's why we do the show on Tuesdays, but they're practicing tomorrow, so today was the better day to do the show. I probably should have said that before 36 minutes into the show. I probably should have said that on some tweets leading into the show. But yeah, we will be back to Tuesday next week. Let's see. Wooback says Sky has a limit. See a Skyler, need a backup quarterback ASAP. Somebody said something about Perk's boy Skyler. Oh, here it is, Tony Montana. Perk's boy Skyler is done. Get used to it. Skyler is kind of my boy. I like Sky. I was just talking to him on Thursday in the locker room about the K-State quarterback, Avery Johnson. I watch Big 12 football. I talked to Skyler about K-State. So, yeah, he kind of is my boy, but the future is not looking good for my boy Skyler.
He could be back to a third quarterback, which I'd like a career as a third quarterback. I mean,
come on. Yes, exactly. Father and son wholesale. Good. Shouts out from the Bahamas. Remember, I told you we was winning out. Your friend from the Bahamas, Tervalis Tinker. Tervalis did say that the Dolphins were going to win out. Billy Batson says Mac Jones can replace Tua. Yikes. That's an old argument right there. Let's wrap it up with this, talking about can the Dolphins beat good teams, Hyde? And we just talked about Chop Robinson and his emergence. The Dolphins still aren't a physical team, but they're a tougher team. I think that they're mentally tougher. I think they play a tougher brand of football. On 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2, at least you'll see some runs now. You don't see these cutesy jet sweeps and things like that. I think McDaniel is calling a tougher game. And when we talk about being tougher, I like that Jalen Wright did not come back in yesterday. Skyler, I guess, also, even though Tua had to go back in. But my point here is mistakes aren't going to be accepted, right? And so, just as Durham Smythe and David Long and Raheem Mostert had their playing time cut or they lost a starting job in David Long's case, I do like the tone that Mike McDaniel is setting. It's not even a tough tone. It's a no-nonsense tone, right? That Jalen Wright, Skylar Thompson, if you mess up, you're out of here. How much will that benefit this team? How much has that benefited this team?
Well, I think you got to have a standard of play.
Yeah.
And the standard is we can't turn over the ball. We can't keep having penalties.
Yep.
And those, they've cleaned up a lot of some of the glaring problems that said, what's going on here as the first, month and a half of the season. And so, you can't beat good teams. You can't beat bad teams as they showed, much less go against good teams. Good teams, I'm putting this in a column I'm writing now. Roger Federer gave a speech to Dartmouth this summer, and he talked about winning and what it takes to win. And he said, you know what? The best tennis players barely win half the points, and it was shocking to me. But he said, I won 54% of my points. Here's a guy who won 20 titles. The point being, a lot of these games come down to discipline, small points of discipline, small points of not making a penalty or taking advantage of another team's penalty and holding your composure. And you look how the Dolphins are losing these games. They lost to the Bills in the final. In a final field goal. Both teams had chances to win. The Bills won it. They lost to Arizona. They couldn't keep a possession.
Yep.
Couldn't run out the clock, and then the defense let Kyler Murray go down the field. So again, these are so much. We talk about these contending teams and non-contending. The separation isn't much, and so can the Dolphins win great? Absolutely, but they got to show they can win those handful of big moments that they've been losing in these games.
I agree 100%. You look at something as simple as Tua mishandling that snap against Arizona. It goes for a safety. You lose 28-27. You look at the Jordan Poyer penalty, that hit to the helmet against Buffalo. Right, you're exactly right. It's those, you got to own every moment of the game, and that's kind of what makes a difference when you're playing these good teams in these big situations. So we'll see if the Dolphins have mastered that. All right, let's migrate over into this segment, and this is going to be kind of a hot topic. If this offense works, if this offense works, and you get to the playoffs, do you trade Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle in the offseason? Here's what my initial thought was. Yes, they're chewing up so much money. If you get to the playoffs, if you do the same thing you've done the previous 2 seasons, and now you're going to pay these guys more money, well, you're crazy. You don't need them both. Now I'm kind of thinking, well, let's kind of wait and see here. I don't, let's see how you make the playoffs, and let's think if both of them aren't here, can you run the same offense? Can defenses now go with the 8 men in the box? And can they still play the double high safeties? And then they can choke you down even more. So now I'm kind of looking at, well, let's let this thing play out till the end of the season. But a couple of weeks ago, I was like, yeah, they're tying up resources that you're going to need to build up the defense or whatever. So now I'm more wait and see right now. Can you come to a conclusion at this point, Hyde?
I don't have to come to a conclusion right now.
You're deciding.
I mentioned this before. You talk to executives, they say, you guys get so caught up in the moment of making decisions right now. We'll let the decisions come to us and then make them when we have to. If they can't get deep, the offense was built around Tyreek and Jalen Waddle last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they can't get deep anymore, do you trade that? That's something to consider through the rest of the season and into the offseason. But I don't think it has an answer right now. Look, if they go in and they run the table, and part of the reason is defenses are playing 2 guys high and they're so worried about remember coming into this year, the question is they need a third receiver and they need a tight end. Well, they don't have a third receiver, but they do have a tight end in Jonnu Smith, who is basically the third receiver.
Yes.
He's having a career year. Why is that? Well, no doubt it's because teams are paying attention to the other. Now, do they focus on John? I keep waiting. Remember in the Rocky movie, he's shooting, he's punching right-handed, but he trained left-handed, and Burgess Meredith says, "Switch, Rocky." You got to be old to remember this stuff. And then Rocky switches to his left hand, and surprise. I keep thinking at some point, there goes Tyreek Hill deep, and Mike McDaniels. No, switch to the left hand.
Oh, a Rocky reference. I love it. Oh, man. You should see.
have an old man reference in here at some point. If you haven't seen the Rocky movie, kids, go watch it. I think it was Rocky 2, wasn't it?
Yeah. You would have been better off referencing Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I mean, come on.
That's right. Should have. I would not be dragged into that. These celebrity shows. No, you can't pull me in. I had to go see Tyson fight in Memphis and against Lennox Lewis, and that was a disaster. I said, no, he's just there on his name from now on.
Oh, you know what? The Tyson fights, that fight, the Tyson and Jake Paul reminded me, you'll remember this. Remember when Danny Bonaducci was making money on all these crazy fights, and they had people like Screech was fighting people and Tanya Harding. That's what it reminded. Just some heel you wanted to see get their butt kicked, and that's what this event reminded me of. So
I covered Mickey Rourke at the War Memorial in Fort Lauderdale. Went back in the same concept. I remember sitting court ringside and hearing for the first time faces being pummeled, and I was like, "Ooh, I don't want to be sitting here. It does not sound good."
Oh, that is outstanding, man! Outstanding. JD, the great one, welcome. Talking about this, the trade. Billy Batson says Hill before Waddle. Let's see. Rob says, "What is wrong with Hill? Good, but so different to the last 2 years." Here's the thing with Tyreek is that, boy, I don't know what I don't know what they're going to do with him as far as getting him to his maximum ability. Because if you have Tyreek and you're paying him all this money, if he's only getting 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards, boy, I don't know, Hyde. And you look at the previous 2 years, he had 1,700 and 1710 and then 1799, and you still didn't win a playoff game. It does make me wonder, what is the value of Tyreek? Like, Kansas City trades him away in a 5-for-1 deal, and they win back-to-back Super Bowls. And so that's the other thing that makes me look at Tyreek. If you get to the playoffs, you do the same thing this year you've done the last 2 years. Now, let's face it, the Dolphins they've got to scrap and scrounge and play the best football that they can of the season, so that they can get the privilege of going to Pittsburgh, Baltimore, or Buffalo in sub-zero weather and maybe get their teeth kicked in. But what is Tyreek's true value to this team moving forward? Look at what Kansas City did without him, and look at what they got in return for him. And so that's kind of one of the reasons I wondered that about Tyreek moving ahead with the Dolphins.
No, I recall a couple of weeks ago that what's going on here, because it's just mystifying that they can't get the ball to him more.
Yep.
And you heard all the two safeties high, other guys are open, and sure, if you're a defensive coordinator, he's still the guy you take. But remember, a week ago we were having this discussion about both receivers,
right?
And now Jalen Waddle had a career game, high for yardage receiving, maybe they're opening the valve up slowly. I don't know, but let's see how it plays out here.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Dougie Fresh, welcome. Who else do I need to welcome in here? Michael M says Hill's contract is untradeable. I mean, that is, you're not going to get dollar for dollar. You know that. I mean, you're going to have to take a haircut on that one. Let's see here. Dougie Fresh, I'm trying. Oh, here's one from Pete. When can Huntley get back as quarterback 2? And that's also a big part of this equation when you talk about going out to find another quarterback and what do you do with Skylar Thompson. We've seen Tyler Snoop Huntley, Hallandale High's product, in the locker room a few times the last couple of weeks. Kind of gone up to him and made small talk, but haven't really asked him any questions. We're not allowed to talk to him because he's on the injured list. That's a Dolphins team rule. You can't talk to injured players. You can't talk to players on the practice squad. He looks like he's in good spirits. He's walking around fine. I'll say this. He looks about as good as Isaiah Wynn looks. And they say that Isaiah Wynn could be ready to come off be activated this week. So for what it's worth, from physical appearances, Snoop looks fine, but we have not seen him out on the practice field yet. So that tells me he's probably at least a couple of weeks out. All right, Hyde, let us go to our predictions for this game, baby. It is our prediction time. Dolphins versus Green Bay Packers, Thanksgiving night, Lambeau Field. Who you got?
I feel like, speaking another old reference, Lucy's got the football down, and I'm running up. I'm picking the Dolphins. I'm going with the Dolphins, Perk. Don't pull that football from me and I kick air.
I love it, baby.
I'm trying to remember what I won in the paper. I think it was like 28-24 or something like that.
Wow, Dave, you are old. You reference Charlie Brown, and then you say in the paper. Like, how are you? Come
on. Let me pull out my typewriter and see what I got.
That's right. Exactly. All right. I'm good. You know what? Boy, I know this has been a positive show, but I got to see it to believe it. I'm going Green Bay 28-24. And the reason being because I just haven't seen this team rise up to this level. The previous game that we saw them was at Buffalo, right? And they did a very nice job at Buffalo, but they couldn't finish it. The Raheem Mostert fumble was a big thing. The defense couldn't keep Buffalo from kicking that 61-yard field goal as time expired. So I like what the Dolphins have done. and I like the way that they're trending, but I've got to see them do this against a quality team on the road at this time of year. And again, I don't think that the weather is the factor here. I think it's the opponent and being on the road. Of course, if there's a cold game, it's not going to be in Miami. It's going to be on the road, right? It's 75 degrees out here now. But, I've still got to see them be able to do this on the road against a good team. And I'll say this also. I need to see Tua continue to have good games. He had a good game the second game, the game in Buffalo. The game here, not so much. And then the games late last season, not so much. So I hope that the Dolphins can do this. I really do. I like the excitement that's around here. I hope they can get it done. We'll see. Rob Mace says Dolphins 24. Packers 20. Rob says Dolphins 24, Packers 23. Peter McDowell. Peter, what's up, man, from Canada? Dolphins 21, Packers 20. So we'll see.
So the Dolphin fans are picking Dolphins, right? Is that the bottom line there? I get back to Teron Armstead I talked to him back in August, and he was talking about we know what the season's going to come down to, and ultimately, what he was saying, it's going to be a game like this. It's going to be a game. They got to go and they got to do something they haven't done before. And so, can they do it? I shrug my shoulders. I really don't know. My question is, if they don't do it now, will this team do it? I mean, if they can't win it, they're on a roll now. Everything they knew, their confidence is as high as a 5-6 team can be, and if they don't do it now, will they do it?
That's a good question. Here's another good question from Peter McDowell. Curious, guys, why don't we use a double tight end set for some running plays? Could we see that in Green Bay, or is it not in the playbook? Would be great to control the line of scrimmage at times. They do use some double tight end sets. Yeah. You'll see Durham Smythe and Durham Smythe.
Julian Hill.
Yes,
Julian Hill would be in there.
Yeah, you'll see them in there at times. And, I think one thing that's hurting the run game right now is Alec Ingold. He missed the previous 2 games. He only played 9 snaps against the Patriots. He's got that calf injury. Calf injuries are usually multi-week injuries. So I was kind of surprised that they trotted him out last week. By the way, this is a homecoming for Alec Ingold. He grew up in Green Bay. So this is a homecoming game for him. He won't miss this one. But I think if Ingold is 100% healthy, the run game goes up a level. But this run game has really it needs some help. It really needs some help. Here's the funny thing, Hyde. They had that stretch of rushing for more than 100 yards in 5 straight games. They went 1-4. Now they've gone less than 100, 3 straight games. They're 3-0. So there's still some things we need to work out with this team and figure out and how everything fits in. But a healthy run game goes a long way toward beating Green Bay. Yeah,
and on the flip side, I'm curious. With Drake May, they took care of. Now here they come into a Packers offense that ran the ball very effectively on. So Josh Jacobs, 3 touchdowns, and his quote was, "They kept feeding me. I kept wanting it," and that's what they did to the 49ers. So now we get into the Dolphins' run defense too, and how that's going to hold up on a day. So ultimately it comes down to who gets the lead, and if they get the lead, can they set the tone by running the ball? But I still think you got to pass in today's NFL to score points, and you run to set tones, control clock, etc.
Yep, exactly. Let's see. We will finish with these here. Let's see. Raphael Courtright, Leon Lett going to be at Thanksgiving game for the Dolphins. They never forget, baby. They never forget. Pete says, I don't want to see Skylar Thompson ever again. He may be an awesome guy, but no more, please. Pete, you're hurting my feelings. He is an awesome guy. I like Skylar. Come on. And then here's one here that we will conclude on, and I will give you a thought, and I want to hear your thought, Dave. Rob says, if Tua continues to play this way and the Dolphins finish 11-6, is Tua the league MVP? I don't know. Probably not. But here's my big thing, folks. let's not move the goalpost. The key to success, the definition of success for this season was winning a playoff game. If they run the table and finish, what would they finish with? 11 wins, 10 wins, whatever it will be, and don't win a playoff game, I'm still going to have a major problem with that. What about you, Hyde?
Well, Perk, the goalposts have been moved. I mentioned, yes, they have, because at the start of the year, it was got to get a home field playoff spot. Got to get that, because you've seen what happens when they play on the cold and the road. And so if they can get a home playoff, and it'd be nice to win the AFC East, to quit calling the Buffalo Bills your daddy. And going into the season, it looked like this was the year. Buffalo didn't have playmakers. They didn't have a receiving corps really that made you scared. So the goalposts have been moved, but now they have been, Perk.
If this team finishes 3 years with no playoff win, can you call the McDaniel era successful?
No, but I'm saying they've already been moved from playing a home field playoff and getting home field, winning the division, and winning a playoff game at home to just win a playoff game, just win a playoff game, because they were 2-6, and now they've given themselves a second chance this year. Okay, they've given a second chance to go out and get that elusive playoff victory, but first they got to win a game like on Thursday, or Houston game. You got to beat a couple good teams here.
Yep, I agree. All right, we will keep it there. I hope that they do win on Thursday, because that would just good vibes, good signs, good harbinger, just everything good. So let's hope that happens. That's Dave Hyde. I'm Chris Perkins. You are watching Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk.
Happy Thanksgiving.